So our sustainability challenge here in this particular place was to make something that was affordable, like really unbelievably affordable, that it was sustainable on a whole number of levels, and also we're on a bushfire prone block, and that it's bushfire resistant. So my name is Brian Rapsey. We're here in the Southern Highlands in Willowvale in our house, which we call Bloodwood. Bloodwood's the name of the gum trees that grow here. My partner Fiona and I first saw this property in 2010. We were refugees from Sydney. We thought we'd never be able to buy a family home there, and so we spent a lot of time looking for a suitable place to build our own dream sustainable home. Well, this block, it sits right on the edge of the suburb of Willowvale in the Southern Highlands. It's beautiful because it lies right on the edge of the bush. Our property is 2 hectares large. The main feature that we noticed was that it had a perfect solar north face for building a sustainable solar passive design home. When we bought this place, it looked like a burnt out bombshell from a previous bushfire. And so right from the beginning, the standards were that we had to make it to the highest bushfire standards. And a lot of people are scared off by the potential expense of that, but we discovered by having a really clever design that it actually was very quick to build and not all that expensive as well. From the moment we started building this place to moving in, it took us 4 months, and that's all. The place was fundamentally designed by my partner Fiona. It essentially is a big rectangle with a sloping or skillion roof. The roof just overhangs enough so that the inside of the house is shaded during the hottest time of the year, during the summer, but it lets all the sun in during the winter months when the sun is lower in the sky. And also, she did really clever things like design the kitchen and all the bathrooms to be along the back line of the house, so that, for example, when you did the plumbing, it was really ultra simple to install all of those things. So in terms of bushfire resistance in this house, it's built to the highest bushfire standards of that time when we built it. And that means, first of all, that there's 50 meters from the front of our house to the edge of our property. But more importantly, there's no flammable materials on the outside of the house at all. So, for example, the house is clad in color-bond steel, and there's no gaps or apertures at all in which embers can get inside. The deck is made out of a floating tinted concrete slab, and the handrail is stainless steel. Can't burn. And then on top of the house, the eaves are covered or shielded by a fireproof mesh that has small apertures in it so that embers can't get into the eaves or that you can't have leaf or litter buildup. But also because it's so well insulated that we can essentially easily heat the room through a slow combustion fireplace that we have here. So in terms of our solar array, we have 16 panels of solar on the roof on a 4 kilowatt inverter. On a really good sunny day, it generates about 24 to maybe 30 kilowatts. If the sun's good, we're producing twice as much power as we use. In terms of energy savings, it doesn't feel like we pay very much for power. For example, we don't use gas or any sort of other energy source. We have for our stove an induction cooktop. It's a super energy efficient way of cooking using magnetism. So because of the nature of our site, we were never going to be able to get sewage or town water. So we installed what's called an aerated wastewater recycling system. Basically, all our wastewater goes into tanks and gets aerated and breaks down aerobically in a really environmentally sustainable way, and then gets pumped out and irrigated under our lawns. Also, because we're not connected to town water, we have a big 75,000 liter water tank at the back of the house, and that's what we drink and use for everything. And then for bushfire safety, about 20,000 liters of that water is reserved just for bushfire fighting if we need it. Also, we have a solar hot water heating system. It's an evacuated tube solar hot water system. For most people, heating the water is the most energy consumptive thing in the house, whether it be using gas or electricity. And so, our water is mostly heated by the sun. I've been interested in sustainability since a really young age. I can't remember where it really started, maybe since I arrived in Australia. The environmental existential catastrophe of Chernobyl was hanging over everybody in that year. But it was always a dream to look after the environment and to have a sustainable place. Throughout our lives, we've also carried through on a whole lot of other levels in terms of sustainability. We're vegetarians, partly because of the environmental costs of industrial meat production. But also in my career, I worked for many years as the mentor of a international travel filmmaking scholarship. And through that scholarship, we ended up making mostly films about sustainable travel that benefited local communities. Yeah, very much part of almost everything that I do. I look at new housing developments, and they have these houses which are just sort of pre-designed, and they have nothing at all to do with the environment. So many of them could just easily be designed and oriented to make the most out of their orientation to the sun or the surrounding environment. But a lot of the time, that is one of the last considerations. Why do you need to become sustainable now? Well, it's the great existential crisis of our times. A lot of people might think that building a sustainable house is quite a privilege, for people who have a lot of money. But we found in this place that it was incredibly affordable to build. And the reason so is through really simple yet clever design of a building that is fairly modest in size compared to most houses, and built to principles where it's quick and easy to put together. For example, this house was erected and squared up, and we put up all the tin on the outside of the house in a day because it was measured out perfectly and just arrived on the truck that way. I just like to encourage people to think about building in this way, and that it won't cost you the earth. We're more than happy for people to look at our house and essentially copy or mimic the design. It's a very satisfying and beautiful sort of space to live, precisely because it's built to make the most out of the sun.